まさかジェントルーがプリキュアになるとはね。
Yeah, it's almost as if this was all just a painfully obvious cash grab. But I can't imagine this show being that desperate, right?
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here.
We opened on our heroines making some more of that fruit punch salad, though this time with the added calories in the form of some mochi balls. I mean, granted, I'm sure it was tasty to the point that Kome's eyes start to float off her face. But yeah, they were throwing a little welcome party for the second new member of their team. Yeah, don't worry, he'll appear this week. And to celebrate, they both gave her that toy you're not supposed to put liquid in, as well as something from that shop. Please at least tell me that was made by Songo. The girl deserves at least one legit accomplishment after she was so damn shafted. They also went through the standard stuff, including Amne encouraging them to call her by her first name and...
Long time no see!
Though before anything else, we got the second version of the opening, which mostly relied on layering to just kind of throw Amne at the beginning and end of it. I mean, yeah, it's leagues better than forcing her to use Skype, but really, they're not even gonna include her during this storybook sequence? Okay. Anyway, Amne introduced herself to King Candy. Don't worry, sweetie. We'll just throw you in the dungeon for a few weeks, and then we'll be all square. But, you know, this would actually be a good time to learn about her connection with the Bundle Gang and how she ended up joining them, so will we get anything yet?
Nope.
I mean, okay, we did get some world building, with Amine explained that, not too surprisingly, their lair was in another dimension, and that the entry and exit points would appear in random locations, which would make sense for an organization of thieves, and kind of explain why Gentle was never able to easily escape. Again, I would prefer some actual character building for Amine, but whatever, at least this is something. However, the more interesting developments actually came afterwards, where we learned, kind of out of nowhere, that apparently Takami's father was accused of once stealing the recipe bone. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we ever established that Mr. Shinada might have done that, but okay, that's interesting, especially after Amne seemed to confirm that the Bundle Gang were the only ones to ever try to steal the book. This meant that either Mr. Shinada was falsely accused, or he was also a former member of the gang. Either way, it's an interesting development, and I actually can't wait to see how Takami takes it. Oh wait, this is an Amine episode. Okay. On their way home, Amine revealed her brother's birthday was coming up, don't forget they're twins, so just like the Songo blush she got from her team, she wanted to do something special for her brothers. You know, Sho, people would stop comparing y'all with Kira if you stopped giving them ammo. But yeah, since they were baking for twins, they decided to bake two different cakes, vanilla and chocolate. Would have never imagined that Ron was a Tetsun Idol fan. And this led to a rather senseless argument between the fairies about whose partner was the better decorator. Yeah, this is gonna be one of the main conflicts of the episode, who can make the better cake. As a result, they decided to split into two teams to make one of the cakes each, which they probably would have done without this pointless contest, but whatever. And after a little game of rock, paper, scissors to decide the teams, they ended up as, oh wow. Yeah, I think we should just call this contest a wash at this point. Seriously, you can talk about cooking with love and all that as much as you want, but baking cakes is pretty much a science, so when you have a team with the two smarter characters, one of whom is also the loving little sister, then yeah, there's really no contest. Not helped by the fact that the opposite team was a disorganized mess who even considered putting jiandui on their cake, which if you didn't know, is a fried ball of mochi with bean paste in the middle and coated in sesame seeds. It's actually really good, but obviously not only does the taste not match with chocolate, but the texture is completely different, so you'd have to eat it separately from the cake. And yet, they still ended up putting it on top, which, yeah, to anyone who's eaten jiandui, does that sound good to you? No, so may as well throw this out there. Question of the video, vanilla or chocolate cake? Anyway, Amne went on to explain why they were making two different cakes rather than just one big one and probably saving on ingredients.
2つ用意すること
Wow, that sounds like a needlessly complicated arrangement, especially considering that now both of them should be old enough that they really shouldn't care what sort of cake they get. Like seriously, other than for the obvious victim of the week setup, you have to waste money on a couple of idiots who are at least in their 20s by now. Granted, this did lead into a kind of cute moment for Omne when she was embarrassed that her brothers figured out what she was doing. But again, I'm still waiting on certain other developments for her. Anyway, of course Narcissus just so happened to capture the two cake types that they were making, which took away their memories of it.
当然チョコクリームだろ。
それはないね。生クリームでしょ。
What? So they still have a little memory of their cake fight, or at least just the fight itself. Does that mean that Narcissus' device just takes away the positive memories? Is that how it works? And again, why are these two grown men fighting over cake?
The answer is don't think about it.
Nah, who knows? Maybe they'll both turn into noirs, and we can at least get the sweets police back. Anyway, we then got a really long transformation sequence, as of course, we're not getting the 4-member transformation yet, and instead the trio, and then Omne, which, as I've said, I think hers is just a little too long, though at least it gives me time to talk about something from last week. Okay, so a lot of people were quick to correct me that Omni's theme color is actually supposed to be gold, as clarified by the character designer on Twitter, which, okay, my fault for jumping the gun on that one. But one, they clarified that on Twitter, and two, that just kind of makes these designs extra redundant now. Sure, in something like Sentai, yellow and gold can look significantly different thanks to a little something called 3-dimensional lighting, but in traditional 2D animation, they look almost exactly the same, so why do it? Unless Ron is supposed to be the true leader of this team, and we're gonna have an eventual Time Red versus Time Fire-esque face-off, that would be awesome. And sorry, I've just been doing a little research for the next video, and I've kind of got 6 Rangers on the head is all. Anyway, we did at least get a 4-member version of the team roll call, which was just as awful as the original, only more crowded now. Still, at least the fight was pretty good when they weren't relying too much on the stock animation attacks. More importantly though, this did result in Takumi showing up to try and save a reckless Yui, only to get majorly cock-blocked by the new girl.
新しいプリキュア
Don't worry, bro. We stand with you on this channel. Seriously, I don't care if she gets another nicely done Yu Yoshiyama sequence. We're behind you, Takumi. Hell, even Rosemary seemed to agree, as he tried to confer with him to try and apologize to the person he didn't realize was Takumi's father, but at least knew that he was somehow connected with the former Foo Fighter. However, Takumi turned him down to protect both of their secrets, and again, this is the more interesting plotline, so can we focus on this more next time? Please? Well, anyway, the episode ended with a lot of cake because the fairies also made a Neapolitan, and I'm just gonna assume they ended up with a lot of leftovers. Enjoy working off those calories, especially from your chocolate fried mochi ball cake. This was just a meh episode, which as a follow-up to the Omni arc is a little underwhelming, but so was that whole arc in general. The big issue, of course, is that they're still leaving us mostly in the dark with a lot of the details about Omne's connections with the evildoers, and at this point, they just might keep it that way. We did, however, at least get some interesting developments for Takumi and his father. And while it is counterintuitive for the 2 extra heroes of the show to be competing for screen time, at least the more interesting ones gain development, right? While I can certainly appreciate them at least trying to flesh out Omni a little more, it's ultimately window dressing, as we still don't know the important backstory to this character that's also related to the show's greater plot. Thus, even though it was more of a subplot in this episode, I was actually more invested in the lore of the Shinada family, as it did seem to at least have strong links to the main conflict. And what little we did get was at least intriguing, but ultimately, it did play second fiddle to one of the most filler of plots in baking cakes with some very questionable decorations. Thus, overall, other than the Takumi stuff, there's really nothing much to say about this one. Omni still hasn't won me over, at least not to the point I'm giving up on calling Takumi the true Sixth Ranger of this show. We're pulling for you, dude. You can do it. Currently, we're working on another project that, if you couldn't tell by earlier, I'm actually really excited for, as we are going to do a little retrospective on the 6 Rangers across the toy franchises. We'll of course mostly focus on the 2 major franchises of this trope, Super Sentai and Precure, but might also bring in some other shows too. Also, we'll be covering it in 2 parts, the first one covering Bride to Setsuna. So look forward to it, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and probably shouldn't have given Akagi the Dragon Dagger as a gift.